For centuries, the Yugur people lived on the move. They followed grass, weather, and animals across the open land of northwest China. Movement was not a lifestyle choice. It was survival. Home was not a fixed place, but a direction shaped by seasons. Today, most Yugur families live in settled villages near the edge of the Gobi Desert. The grassland still exists, but the rhythm of life has changed. This is the story of how a nomadic people learned not only how to move, but how to stay without losing themselves in the process. The Yugur people mainly live in Gansu province, near the Hexi Corridor, a region that historically connected Central Asia and China. This location shaped Yugur history in a very direct way. Traditionally, the Yugur were nomadic herders. Their livelihoods depended on sheep, horses, and seasonal movement. Families moved together, carrying homes, tools, and supplies that could be packed and rebuilt quickly. Because mobility was central to life, Yugur culture developed around flexibility. Social relationships were adaptive, family roles shifted with seasons, and knowledge was passed down through observation rather than formal instruction. However, during the last century, changes in land policy, education systems, and economic structure gradually reduced the space available for nomadic movement. Settlement became increasingly common and eventually unavoidable. This transition marked a major shift from a culture organized around movement to one organized around fixed places. One of the most visible impacts of settlement is language change. As children attend Mandarin-based schools and daily life becomes more integrated with surrounding communities, fewer young people speak Yugur fluently. The shift does not happen suddenly. It happens quietly, through daily substitution. Many elders still use Yugur at home, especially when talking about animals, weather patterns, tools, and work routines. These words are not abstract. They describe practical knowledge formed through generations of grassland life. For example, specific terms describe animal behavior before weather changes, or subtle differences in grazing land. When such language fades, this detailed way of understanding the environment fades with it. Language loss, in this sense, is not only about communication. It is about losing a system of knowledge tied directly to work and survival. Sering is a Yugur man in his early 30s, born into a herding family. As a child, he followed his grandparents between seasonal pastures. Yugur was the language of daily work, calling animals, identifying weather changes, and telling stories at night. After his family settled, Sering attended school in town. Mandarin became the dominant language in public spaces, and Yugur slowly retreated into private conversations. By the time he graduated, many children younger than him could no longer understand basic Yugur expressions. When Sering returned home, he noticed a gap forming between generations. Elders still held knowledge, but fewer children could access it. He began working with a local primary school and village elders to record simple Yugur vocabulary and short songs related to daily life, animals, tools, directions, and seasons. These materials were used informally, not as exams, but as exposure. The goal was modest but clear: to keep the language recognizable and to keep elders involved in teaching. For Sering, cultural preservation did not mean reversing settlement. It meant making sure that adaptation did not erase memory. Today, most Yugur people live settled lives. They farm, raise animals on a smaller scale, or work in nearby towns. Cultural continuity now depends less on movement and more on intention. What is taught at home, what language is used in daily tasks, and which skills are treated as worth passing on. The Yugur experience shows that cultural survival does not always require returning to the past. Sometimes it requires careful choices about what should remain visible during change. The Yugur people no longer move as they once did, but movement still lives in memory, language, and work. Between grassland and home, they found a way to stay without forgetting where they came from.